The Vikings, the most feared warriors in medieval Europe, were not unbeatable, but what if I told you that? What if I told you that they were terrified of a mystery tribe who lived far in the frigid north, even with their dragon ships and vicious raids? This is the lost tale of a tribe that made Viking nightmares come true. A people who could use nature as a weapon to deter even the most ferocious raids from assaulting. The terrifying reality about the Sami, the tribe that frightened the Vikings, is this. Number 9. Shapeshifters and spirit animals. The fear of the Sami wasn't only about curses and storms, it also came from the belief that they could transform into animals. Viking sagas describe the Sami as shapeshifters who could take the form of bears, wolves, or birds to spy on enemies or attack without warning. Whether this was myth or misunderstanding, the effect was powerful. To Vikings, who already believed in berserkers that channeled animal spirits in battle, the idea of the Sami literally becoming beasts was horrifying. Imagine preparing for a raid and being told your enemy could transform into a predator that stalks you silently in the night. This belief added another layer of supernatural fear that kept the Sami untouchable in Viking imagination. Number 8. Echoes in Norse mythology. What's even more fascinating is how Sami culture may have influenced Norse mythology itself. Some scholars believe that Odin, the chief god of the Vikings, known for his shamanic powers, ability to travel between worlds, and command of magic, was partly inspired by Sami shamans. The Vikings admired the mystical power of the Sami even while fearing it, and echoes of their practices seeped into Norse beliefs. This shows that the Sami were not just outsiders living in the far north, they were people whose spiritual power left a permanent mark on Viking culture. In a way, the very gods the Vikings worshipped carried shadows of the people they feared most. Number 7. The invincible Vikings, or were they? Throughout Europe, the Vikings were regarded as unstoppable fighters. They terrorized both rulers and peasants, burnt monasteries, and raided the coast. Their savagery and fearlessness navigating choppy waters, engaging in combat in far-off places, and wreaking havoc everywhere they went were the foundation of their notoriety. However, even the most daring robber has their limitations. The Vikings themselves spoke about adversaries they dared not confront, while Europe shuddered at the sight of their longships. The surprise is that their adversaries were little tribes concealed in the wilderness, armed with weapons considerably more terrifying than swords, rather than powerful empires or heavily guarded kingdoms. Number 6. The forgotten tribe of the Sami. The Sami people, an indigenous group that inhabited what is now Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia's Kola Peninsula, resided deep within Scandinavia's Arctic wildness. They may have appeared straightforward to outsiders, fishing, herding reindeer, and surviving in tents in the face of extreme weather. However, they were far from innocuous to the Vikings. Where the Vikings could hardly subsist, the Sami could flourish. They could track animals, survive fatal snowstorms, and live where no Viking force could because they knew the cold plains like the back of their hands. The Sami, on the other hand, had something considerably more enigmatic, an atmosphere of magic, mythology, and horror that made them seem untouchable while the Norse relied on physical might. Number 5. Masters of magic in the spirit world. The Sami's ties to the spirit realm were what really alarmed the Vikings. Shamans known as Noidus, who were said to be able to travel between realms, call forth storms, and curse their adversaries, were central to their civilization. To interact with spirits and manipulate nature, they employed drum, chanting, and ceremonies. This was no laughing matter for the Vikings, who lived in a world where superstition and magic were quite real. They thought that the Sami could bring forth animals to attack, blizzards to destroy ships, or sickness and bad luck to afflict warriors. Imagine being a Viking raider, getting ready to conquer Sami territory, and being terrified that a shaman's curse may turn the snow, the wind, and the sky against you. The Sami were more powerful than any weapon because of their fear of the otherworldly. Number 4. Ghosts of the snow. However, the Sami's skill as warriors in the icy wilderness was what really made them scary, not merely their magic. The Sami developed skis long before the rest of Europe, which allowed them to move softly on ice and snow. They might come suddenly and disappear into blizzards, moving quicker than any Viking. They could attack from a distance with their strong bows before vanishing like shadows. It was impossible for Vikings to resist this type of warfare because they were accustomed to engaging in direct combat with axes and shields. Consider pursuing an adversary that disappears into the storm before you can strike back, assaults from a distance, and leaves no trace. It was like fighting invisible ghosts in a never-ending cold to the Norse when they faced the Sami. Number 3. Trading with fear. It's interesting to note that not every encounter between the Vikings and the Sami was antagonistic. Furs, ivory, and even magical charms were among the rich resources that the Norse frequently exchanged with the Sami. However, caution and respect were the cornerstones of these trading relationships. The Sami were given more consideration by the Vikings than nearly everyone else they came into contact with. They were more than simply business associates. They were dangerous individuals whose wrath could follow you long after the transaction was over. According to the Norse sagas, the Sami are strong and enigmatic individuals you would never want to deceive. This delicate balancing act between dread and trade demonstrates the Vikings' reverence, even fear, for this lost tribe. Number 2. The curse of the Noidi. Viking communities were filled with stories about the fates of those who ventured to cross the Sami. It was reported that a ship captain who made fun of a Sami shaman drowned in an unexpected storm. The bodies of raiders who plundered from Sami territory were never discovered after they disappeared in the snow. Whole expeditions never made it back home before being engulfed by the forest. Were these only natural occurrences, or the Noidis taking revenge? The solution was clear to the Vikings. These weren't random occurrences, they served as penalties. And this fear was sufficient to prevent Viking warriors from ever trying to capture Sami territories in a time when the belief in curses was more powerful than the belief in luck. Number 1. The tribe the Vikings couldn't conquer. The Vikings encountered innumerable adversaries during their period of conquest, including kings, armies, and empires. The Sami, however, were unique. They had neither walls nor fortresses to protect them. They lacked powerful armies. They possessed the dreadful aura of supernatural power, survival skills, and knowledge of their area. Even the most feared warriors in history, the Vikings, were sufficiently put off by these factors to reconsider making them enemies. Ultimately, the Vikings destroyed kingdoms and set fire to villages, but they were never able to subdue the Sami. Rather, the Sami continued to be free, feared, and revered, a constant reminder that fear itself can occasionally be a more powerful weapon than steel. Remember this the next time you consider Vikings to be the most fearsome warriors in history. Even they experienced nightmares. And the Sami, a forgotten people buried in the freezing north, were the source of those horrors rather than vast kingdoms or powerful armies. Please remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more untold stories that history books haven't told you if you like this untold bit of history.